Broadcasting live from the Capital OTB studios, this is Racing Across America with Seth Merrow.
We'd like to thank Woodbine for their sponsorship of this program and some of the other programming and events here at Capital OTB. Woodbine open now through December, featuring great racing, including the King's Plate coming up in August, Turf Champions Day with the Woodbine Mile in September, and much, much more. Woodbine Racing, great racing north of the border. Good morning. I am Seth Merrow. This is Racing Across America on a Sunday morning. Thanks for joining us. Happy to have you on board. We'll do a little recap of some of the stakes action as usual on a Sunday. Also, a little bit later on, we'll be joined by our friend Tim Wilkin. He was down at Pimlico last Saturday, so a little more week out recap of Preakness action and some thoughts going into the Belmont Stakes right up here at Saratoga, coming up now in a couple of weeks. So Tim coming up in a little bit. But as I say, other than that, some stakes recaps, maybe a little handicapping, some news and notes we'll toss in. But speaking of news and notes, first, our friend Howard Kravitz, had him on the show yesterday, host of the HHH Racing podcast. And we talked a little racing yesterday, got some thoughts. We also handicapped the big stakes action tomorrow at Santa Anita. And I congratulated Howard because I saw the weekly Saturday NYRA contest. He won last week. And if you're on top, you get a few $1,000s. And I said to Howard, kind of a nice hors d'oeuvre, because he plays in a lot of the big contests. He's in the NHC every year, goes out and plays the BCBC. There's a big contest every year down at Keeneland that he's in, where, the prize is six figures. But as I say, you win the NYRA contest, you get a few $1,000s. It's a nice afternoon. And he said yesterday, I think I'll play again today. He won again yesterday. So back-to-back weeks for Howard Kravitz winning. And as I say, nice little hors d'oeuvre. He's cleaning out the hors d'oeuvre table there. So again, congratulations there. Also, again, want to note a couple of nice pools sitting out there for the taking this afternoon. First of all, at Gulfstream Park, it's a mandatory in the Rainbow Six. Mandatory in the Rainbow Six at Gulfstream today. That will start in race number 4. So if you like that, and at the end, 20-cent increment, you can put together a nice little ticket for a reasonable amount of money. But a pool that is definitely going to attract a lot of attention. There's a pick 5 carryover at Churchill. It's the late pick 5 at Churchill. It will kick off in race number 6. It'll go race 6 through race 10. Late pick 5 carryover at Churchill, $290,000. And people love these pick. Did I say pick 5? It's a pick 5 carryover. If I said pick 6, at Gulfstream, it's the Rainbow Six. At Churchill, it's a pick 5 carryover. And again, $290,000 races 6 through 10. And as I was going to say, people love these. People love the pick 5 in general, but you get a pick 5 carryover at the various tracks, particularly over $250,000 like this, they will shovel it in this afternoon. So again, pick 5 carryover at the late pick 5 at Churchill. It'll be races 6 through 10. We'll remind you throughout the afternoon as well, because we'll be back in a little bit later with OTB Live, looking at some Churchill, in fact, some Churchill and some Belmont and Aqueduct this afternoon, but plenty of other action on the agenda as well. Speaking of which, I alluded to it earlier, tomorrow, don't forget Memorial Day, big day of racing, big holiday day of racing with major tracks going that would normally go on a Monday, racing in New York, Churchill, Monmouth, big card at Santa Anita, a couple grade 1s. We'll take that entire Santa Anita card, so we'll have nighttime racing, and we'll be open late right here at the Clubhouse Racebook, 711 Central Avenue in Albany, opening at 11:30 tomorrow morning, but open until 9 p.m. tomorrow night. So again, a big day of racing tomorrow, Memorial Day. Keep that in mind. I'll be here with OTB Live during the afternoon, so you can tune in and watch that as well. So keep that in mind for tomorrow. But keep in mind for yesterday. Actually, I wanted to start things out, our review with the day before. going back to Friday, because there was a horse on Friday that got a little buzz, first-time starter. And I will say I had a first-time starter as my dark horse play of the day. Actually, the one at Churchill, I had a first-time starter over at Belmont that won for Mark Cassie. But at Churchill, I had a first-time starter that was my capital LTV play of the day, Spice Runner. And I thought, that was a nice little winner. Sibling to Gunite, that may be one to watch. That was over on the main track. So Spice Runner, a nice 2-year-old first out winner for Steve Asmussen, as I say, a full sibling to Gunite. But the one that got the buzz, and we'll take a look here, 4th race at Churchill on Friday, maiden special, 2-year-olds on the grass at 5 furlongs. Where else do you look but Wesley Ward? And he sends out Outfielder, a 2-year-old by Speightstown that was purchased right up here at Saratoga back in August of 2024 for $850,000. Lives up to it. Outfielder is the number 7 horse here. John Velasquez down in Louisville for the ride and gets it done pretty easily at the 39-cent to $1 favorite, chart margin over 6 lengths. But it was notable because the final time, 55.93, the fastest ever 2-year-old, 5 furlongs on the turf at Churchill Downs. So it was a notable performance that had people a buzz, and people, because it's Wesley Ward, 2-year-old, looking pretty good like that, people are already thinking, Ascot for this one next, and it wouldn't shock me, certainly. But Outfielder, as I say, an expensive purchase right up the Northway last summer in the debut, the 2-year-old 2025 debut under John Velasquez for Wesley Ward gets it done. Now, it was the fastest 2-year-old performance ever on the turf down there at this distance. But I will say the turf has been playing pretty quickly. There were a couple of other performances so far this meet that have been fast. But yesterday, No Balls went 5.5 furlongs on the turf in an allowance optional claiming event. No Balls, a very, very good stakes quality turf sprinter for Larry Rovelli. He brought this one down from his Hawthorne base, I believe, had been working there. And he's been picking his spots nicely with this one. Again, stakes quality turf sprinter, No Balls, but was in an allowance optional claimer yesterday. And as I said, when I looked at this, why not? It was $140,000. So walking away with the better part of the purse there, $80,000, stakes level purse. But No Balls got it done yesterday. I brought this one up because it was a new track record. 5.5 furlongs in a minute, 0.96. So the turf course down there is playing quite speedy. Again, I'm not going to say Outfielder isn't something special, but I'm taking some of this with a little bit of a grain of salt. It's the course has been, since the meet started, has been playing quickly. Let's put it that way. So, and it'll be interesting to see what Outfielder does do going forward. I think the horse is absolutely legit. I'm just the time and the kind of the fastest ever by a 2-year-old. Because as I say, No Balls yesterday with the track record and some other very fast turf sprints earlier in the meet as well. We'll see. It'd be interesting to watch these horses and see. Be interesting to see the numbers. I haven't seen numbers on those so far. All right, let's get to some of the stakes action from yesterday. Again, that was going back to Friday with Outfielder. But yesterday on the stakes scene in New York, it was the Paradise Creek. That subdivision I like quite a bit of 3-year-olds on the grass, albeit these were grass sprinters going 6 furlongs. I like number 4, Assertiveness, and Assertiveness went off at a generous 10-1. And it was one of the races yesterday where I thought, I'm in a pretty good spot here, and just didn't quite get rolling late and wound up. Assertiveness at that 10-1 winds up 5th. Clock Tower was a horse I looked at and didn't pull the trigger on, coming out of an 8th place finish previously in the Transylvania, but was cutting back to a sprint but maybe more importantly, it was Wesley Ward with the turf sprint. So yesterday in the Paradise Creek, it was number 5, Clock Tower, getting it done. Flat Damat in the second spot, the number 3 horse, in Insubordination, number 2, running third. Those were a couple of prices, 42-1 and 21-1 in the second and third spots. But Clock Tower was the second choice at 7-2. Favorite was Pivotal Moment, going out for Christophe Clement, the 9 horse. That one winds up 8th in the field of 9, but no threat here really for number 5 Clock Tower. And if you look in the racing form, when you pulled up the PPs for this race, at the current meet, according to the racing form, Wesley Ward 4 for 4. And David Aragona tweeted out his stat all year, or maybe going back to some relatively recent span, he had Wesley Ward as 9 for 11 in New York. So keep your eyes on the Wesley Ward runners. And yesterday you walked away, despite that stat. And as I say, I looked at Clock Tower. I didn't pull a trigger. The cutback was a little bit of a concern, not as potent on the grass as it is on the dirt. But given that it was Wesley Ward going back to a turf sprint, I looked at the horse, just went in some other directions to my detriment. Junior Alvarado on board. And again, you got $9.30 there on the Wesley Ward runner, obviously paying much better than the record would have you believe, given he has just been on fire, obviously, in New York. And it'll be interesting to see if that trend keeps up when the Saratoga season started. Belmont week at Saratoga, then that July 4th weekend, and then the traditional meet. Can Wesley Ward keep this roll going? But he kept it going yesterday with Clock Tower in the Paradise Creek. Also on the agenda yesterday, it was the Kirtana down at Churchill. This one a little bit longer on the turf. They sprinted on the turf in the Paradise Creek in New York. They went a marathonish 1.5 miles on the turf down at Churchill in the Kirtana. Another one where I was on the outside looking in, but with a price, I used Holy Foley at 13-1, ran 5th. I had a few winners yesterday, but these couple of stakes were not amongst them. Marksman Queen, I had right underneath. I had Holy Foley on top. Marksman Queen gets in the Louisville stake for Graham Motion. And as I handicapped yesterday, I said, working up at Fair Hill, had run 4th in an allowance at Keeneland at 1.5 miles prior to that. But the Graham elects to come down to Churchill was notable. And Marksman Queen, the number 5 horse here, takes them literally all the way around, getting it done under Frankie Dettori. Dreaming of Mo runs 2nd, and Tarnima runs 3rd in here. But as I'm just looking, the second choice at 3-1. Again, on the lead virtually all the way around. Frankie Dettori on board, and Marksman's Queen pays $8.40 for Graham. Wouldn't be shocked to see this one up at Saratoga, being a Graham Motion horse. Kind of, you look down the PPs, and they've clearly have picked their spots. Raced at Royal Ascot in 2023. Since has been a Gulfstream, Turfway, Woodbine, Presque Isle, Keeneland, Delmar. Did not show up at Saratoga last summer. Again, had to start at Presque Isle in July and Woodbine in August. But again, now we have a horse that is a stakes winner, and it wouldn't shock me to see this one, as I say, up at Saratoga, picking a spot potentially up there. And finally on the stakes day, kind of a light stakes day yesterday. Again, big day tomorrow, particularly out at Santa Anita with the 2 nice Grade 1 events. But finally at Monmouth, the cliffhanger. 3-year-olds and up on the turf, mile and a 16th. Forever Super wound up to be the favorite at 8-5 for Mike Trombetta. And that one was right there late. Forever Super is going to be the number 5 horse, but getting by late is going to be Otago, the number 7 in here. That one went out for Kelsey Danner. coming off a nice little second at Laurel last time. This was the old third start back this season angle, perhaps. But Otago gets it done. 12-1 from an 8-1 morning line. You got a little value. You can see on the outside there. Gonna get up. Yes, gets up at $26 and change under Exel Concepcion, who I think is based down there at Monmouth this season. So nice little late run there to get it done in the cliffhanger. So again, there's some of your action from yesterday on, as I say, a relatively light stakes day as we're in between the Triple Crown events, and things will certainly heat up in a couple of weeks. But we have plenty of time to kind of, and that maybe a light day maybe gives us a little more time to discuss and think about and plan out for the upcoming Triple Crown event, the final leg, as it were. We will be up at Saratoga a week from yesterday. That's the game plan to kind of shake things out next Saturday and Sunday. And then the following Wednesday, racing starts and the regular morning schedule for us up there live from Clare Court. So looking forward to that. Also looking forward to taking a break, coming back, talking to our friend Tim Wilkin. Again, he was down at Pimlico last week. So we'll get some post-Preakness thoughts and also a little preview of what he's thinking going into the Belmont Stakes. All of that right after this. Stay tuned.
Want to get your career in horse racing off to a fast start? Well, the University of Arizona's Racetrack Industry Program is your winning ticket. The Racetrack Industry Program has served as a springboard to some of the industry's most successful individuals, with a proven track record of job placement right out of college. If you want to earn a degree in the exciting horse racing industry, the Racetrack Industry Program can put you in the winner's circle.
Sometimes it pays to go with the flow, to check your worries at the door, to reconnect with your crew, to follow the thrills and the flavor, to roll with it and see where it takes you, to enjoy every minute to its fullest, and to dance like there's no tomorrow. You can do that here at Rivers Casino and Resort Schenectady, where the good times flow.
Welcome back to Racing Across America. As promised before the break, joined now by our friend Tim Wilkin. Again, he was down at Pimlico last week as part of the Notes team, the media team down there. Tim, good morning.
Good morning, Seth. How are we today?
Very good. And you sounded good as well. I tried to get you yesterday, and you said, I'm doing some touristy things in Boston, and you're still in Boston this morning. But thanks for taking the time to join us. You said you went to, Fenway last night?
I did. We just got out of jail, actually. I'm kidding. I'm out here with Karen Roach. You might remember her. You met her in the press box. She's a nice horse playing lass. And we came out to watch the Orioles, and they finally won a game, so it was good, 2-1.
Ah, nice. Very good. Very good. I mentioned you were down there as part of the media team, and I went to your Twitter feed, picked up a few pictures from there. But I picked up the media group picture, the dream team down there. I'm looking at the picture. You had the group up, obviously, from Sister Track Gulfstream. Folks can see on the picture, Ron Nicoletti and Dave Joseph are there, Phil Janak as well. But as I say, the dream team of other Notes team, Mike Kane, Jenny Reese, Rhonda Norby in the back, and Joni Lawrence. So it was a good group down there covering the Preakness.
It was. Clark Spencer, who used to work with the Miami Herald, he's a Gulfstream guy. He came up, and he's always a lot of fun. And we do. You know, I think we do a good job there, but it's also, you know, a lot of former newspaper people.
Yeah.
And so we know what we're supposed to do as far as going out and getting notes. And we have fun doing it. It was a little we took the picture because it's the last time that we'll be standing in that press box.
Well, let me ask you that, because I also you had a picture of the grandstand seating, and you had a picture of the front of the grandstand, and it to me it was funny, understandable but funny over the past couple of weeks to hear people talk, because for years now people have lamented the state of the facility. Boy, the seats in the grandstand look great, but they've been lamenting the state of the Pimlico facility. But now that this was the last one, you could tell there was a lot of sentimentality that past week amongst the folks who are regulars down there.
Oh, there's no doubt about that. It's always been the complaint and the lament of everyone that goes to Pimlico that it's a dump and it's falling down, but it was our dump. And then, and when it goes away, which is going to go away, and it has to go away, because, it's time. The place is falling apart. And, I talked to different horsemen when I was down there about it. And, and like Mark Cassie said, he took a nostalgic trip walking through the grandstand in the clubhouse area. And, the elevator hasn't worked there for like 5 years. So you got to hoof it up the stairs. You go up escalators, and if they're working, you don't have to do the stairs. You only have to do like the last 20. But it's it's history. It's history that's being taken away. And everyone, to a man that I talk to, a man and a woman that I talk to, just hope that they keep the stakes barn the way it is, where everybody, all the Preakness horses stay in the same barn. And there's a lot of history out there. And that barn isn't in bad shape, and it's only used during Preakness week. So I hope that stays.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, I would hope that would. But yeah, there were a lot of pictures. There were pictures of the elevator with the out of order sign on. And it seemed like over the past couple of weeks, listening to various people, everybody had a story on the media side of things about getting stuck in the elevator at some point.
I never got stuck in the elevator. But they also had this thing where it was like a contraption. It looked like something out of an amusement park ride. It was like a lift that they put outside the building and took people up.
Oh, I saw that last year. Yeah.
And it took forever to get up there. I mean, I took it like twice just because I wanted to do it before it gets torn down. And I have a aversion to height, so I couldn't look out the window at the beautiful view of the back of the barns. But it'll be different going to Laurel next year. I've never been to Laurel. I have no idea what to expect there. But Old Pimlico is a place that a lot of people are going to miss. They will miss Seth, and then they won't miss it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And then the following year, they'll be back at the new Pimlico for the Preakness. But as you say, next year. I've been to Laurel. I've never been to Pimlico. I kind of regret I didn't get a chance to see it in its form. But Laurel, I think, is a really nice track. I'm surprised that, that one's going to disappear, because I like Laurel. The parking lot is a problem, but the facility I thought was kind of nice. I pulled up a couple other pictures from your Twitter feed because I wanted you to talk a little bit about it's just been amazing again this year. Your buddies with him, Wayne Lucas, and you had a nice picture of Wayne on horseback, taking a horse out to the track. It's amazing. He gets up on the horse still every morning at 89 years old. But it was also great that he's been part of the Triple Crown picture this year. And yet another shot of him, Wayne Lucas, his wife, and in the background, Bob Baffert. And it seems like those two legends of the sport kind of get along very nicely.
They do. And when Wayne got in the Sunday before with two of the fillies that he was running on the undercard, and he was a little antsy because he said his pony wasn't there yet, and he wants to be out on the track with his pony. That's his safe place. That's where he loves to be. And God bless him. He lives for that. He beats everybody at the barn every day. He's there by before the sun shows up, and it's a marvel that he's able to keep doing that, not just because of his age, but the fact that he still has the interest to do it. I mean, most people, I would think 90% of the people his age are retired and don't want to do anything. But he said he's the eternal optimist. He goes, I still got a bunch of good 2-year-olds coming up now, so he's always looking ahead.
Yeah, and as I say, it's been fun to see him as part of the Triple Crown scene. As we were kind of along the trail, he had a couple that were headed that way. But do you know, is he going to base up in Saratoga this summer?
I don't know. I was talking to his wife, and they're not sure yet. I'd be shocked if he doesn't come. I just think that I know the price and the cost is big. I mean, they talked about maybe just shipping in and out, but I just don't think it would be a Saratoga without Wayne there. Yeah. And then if I was a betting man, I'd say he would be there because I just think he loves the competition. He loves to be where the competition is. Although there's good purse money at Ellis Park too in Kentucky.
Yeah. I hope he's to have people like that on the backside just helps the whole scene, certainly. Let's talk a little bit specifically about what we've seen. We'll do a little review and then a little preview, but let's go back first. Derby, your thoughts on the Derby. I've talked about it now for a few weeks since the Derby was run, and in the week leading up to it, I liked Sovereignty. I thought the big closing effort in the Fountain of Youth to catch River Thames is super impressive. And then the second in the Florida Derby, I thought kind of set him up nicely, given it was a Belmont runner, and he lived up to my expectations getting it done in the Derby. There was a little consternation over sitting on the sidelines, but it's Belmont. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. But what were your thoughts on the Derby and the win by Sovereignty over Journalism?
Well, like you, he was my key horse in that race. I just really loved him at that spot. And, he validated that. Here's a funny story. I was out at the crossings, right? Walking maybe 10 days before the Derby. This woman came up and asked me who I liked in the Derby. And I said, I like Sovereignty. And, left it at that. And I saw her last week. And she comes, she goes, "Oh, thanks for giving me Sovereignty." And I'm thinking, "Oh, great. Congratulations. You bet it?" Thinking she bet $2. She goes, "Yes, I put $100."
Oh, nice.
So she walked out of there with $800. Good for her.
Excellent. Yeah. Those are the kind of stories you love. Yeah.
But Sovereignty is, I thought the Derby set up for him perfectly. And, he got the perfect trip. And, Junior gave him a perfect ride, even though he got the whip violation, which I think is the dumbest rule we've ever seen. I know it's a rule, and then because he went over 6 times, he's getting fined with $60-some odd thousand, but it might be cut in half. But it's just a stupid rule because you're in the heat of the Kentucky Derby. You're not thinking about how many times you're hitting a horse. You're not thinking that. There's too many more things you got to think about. I just think that rule has to go away.
I get the point of the rule, but I'm with you. You're in the heat of it. How are these guys counting? I don't know how they expect them to keep count like that. It's just I get the point, but maybe it needs to be tweaked in some fashion.
And it's not like this is a leather crop. It's like a styrofoam thing. It's not like these horses are. It's to keep the horses focused, and they want, and it's for the safety of the game too. I just think that has to really be revisited in some respect.
Yeah, as I say, I
talk about that for hours.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And as I say, I would think and a question I had never thought about it before, but after the Derby and it attracted so much attention, who's counting? Who on the official side of things? And does somebody watch every jockey in every race and count? I can't imagine that. So who's counting?
That's a good question. I would assume it has to be someone from HISA.
I guess, but like I say, is there people watching all 20 horses? I'd never thought about it before, but that got me thinking, who's the person who's deciding? It's funny. Yeah. Are
they watching every race on every card?
Yeah, exactly. So
that's a good point.
I'd never thought about it before, but all right, let's move on to the Preakness, and we have a replay of that. And again, you were down at Pimlico last week, and I'd love to know also just it's been the talk since the bumping incident at the top of the stretch, and I'm curious as to what the buzz was amongst the press on Saturday right after the race. But we'll watch as they come out of the turn. Journalism gets in a jam here. And I will say, as Gosker pulls away and journalism really has nowhere to go, I said, this race is over. And then he gets in that bumping incident, and I said, he's got no shot. And so to get through and then run down Gosker, I said that was one of the most incredible performances I've seen. But again, give us your thoughts on the performance, and I'm just curious as to what the buzz was amongst the press on Saturday as well.
Well, if you go look at horse racing Twitter, it was divided. It was like 50-50 who was wrong. We're supposedly on journalism or Flavien Prat on goal-oriented. I mean, to me, it looked like journalism was trying to get through a hole that wasn't there, like a fullback looking to get through the line, and there's just nowhere to go. And yeah, there was bumping. I mean, who was it initiated by? It looked to me like journalism kind of whacked goal-oriented in the hind end, and he kind of went sideways, and then he went into journalism, who then went into Clever again, who got creamed on the rail, and he lost all chance after that. And I know Steve Asmussen was very upset about that. He was saying that it was all Rispoli's fault. A lot of people were saying it was Flavien Prat's fault. But the thing about whoever's fault it was, I mean, the stewards did look at it, but there was no jockey objection by anybody. Nobody claimed foul. And I think that, Rispoli, he maybe could have thought about going to the outside, but maybe didn't think he had enough horse then. He had to go the way he did. It just shows you the remarkable athleticism of journalism that he was able to get through, stay up, and then basically restart. And he looked like he was shot out of a cannon when he went by Gosker. I don't know everyone in the press box thought Gosker was home. It's just an amazing, amazing performance by journalism. He was the best horse. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
And you do know the side story of Gosker, his name, don't you?
No. I mean, he's a baseball player, right? Yeah, but
his name's for a baseball player named Jim Gosker, who actually was on the Miracle Mets team in '69. And they had a reunion for that team in 2019. And Gosker wasn't even invited. He still lives in Port Huron, Michigan, where he was born. But they had the reunion at Citi Field, and they had an in memoriam segment, and they put Gosker down.
Oh, jeez. Oh, ouch.
One of the Clark Spencer on the notes team did a nice story on that. And it was, I guess the Mets called Gosker that night to apologize, and the only thing Gosker said was expletive you, and hung up the phone.
Oh, that's brutal.
But Gosker ran the race of his life. And I talked to Brendan Walsh right after, and he was disappointed in the result. Couldn't be disappointed in the horse because he ran great, but journalism was just phenomenal. In the NTRA poll, I had Sovereignty as my number one, but after that result, I had to put journalism number one, because I think he is the most talented 3-year-old, and hopefully we get to see them have the match, have the rubber match at Saratoga.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised when the NTRA poll came out that journalism did jump up to number one, because the head-to-head matchup, it was Sovereignty. And so I put my top 5 out earlier this week, and on that, I had Sovereignty slightly ahead. And you mentioned also the stewards and the incident. If folks didn't see on Friday, the stewards actually met with the 2 jockeys, and no further action was taken. Looked at the films and whatnot. They didn't take any further action after that. But boy, as you say, it was the buzz of the social media this
still
week.
Is.
Yeah,
it still. I can make a case for giving fault to both of the riders.
Yeah, I kind of feel exactly the same way. You've kind of alluded to it already, and you and I were talking before we went on the air. Is journalism still up in the air? And I pulled up, Dan out in the control room can pop up the videos, because both journalism and Sovereignty were out on track yesterday. And I think I might have pulled them up from Mike McAdams' Twitter feed, but also Mary Eddy from Naira had put them out. So one or the other got Sovereignty over on Oklahoma working with Arthur's Ride. And you can see Sovereignty on the outside over on the main track, journalism. But you and I were both talking, fingers crossed the journalism decides to go, because short of a Triple Crown, then there's journalism there. Short of a Triple Crown, the rematch between these two, I think, is going to be a blockbuster, Belmont.
Oh, I agree 100%. I mean, remember last year, we had the Derby and the Preakness winner running in the Belmont, Mystic Dan and Seize the Gray, but that pales in comparison to these two because, these two really threw it down in Kentucky. And a lot of people were disappointed that Bill Mott didn't go for the Triple Crown. I get what he's doing and why he didn't, but to see those two race again, and I think if it was the traditional Belmont, I don't know if we would see journalism going a mile and a half.
Yeah.
But the fact that it's a mile and a quarter at Saratoga, it's asking a lot of journalism to, to compete in all three legs. And, he's had not a rigorous South campaign, but he also seems to be a horse that just thrives the more you throw at him. And I think it's a good sign that he's already in Saratoga. It didn't make any sense. Michael McCarthy, the trainer, wasn't going to send him back to Kentucky, and he certainly wasn't going to send him back to California.
Yeah.
Because the next race is going to be on the East Coast, either going to be the Belmont or maybe the Haskell or the Jim Dandy. But the horse is going to tell them what way they're going to go. I know that Darren Wellman, the managing partner of the ownership group, and Michael McCarthy understand the importance of winning the Belmont Stakes. They want to run in it, but it's going to be up to the horse. And I think so far the signs they're getting are all positive. So we just have to wait and see what they're going to do because it's going to be a decent race. I mean, well, without journalism, it definitely loses its star power. The marquee name that you have up there with Sovereignty. But there's other horses that, Baeza is supposed to come, who was the third place finisher in the Derby. Rodriguez, from Bob Baffert, who didn't make the Derby or the Preakness because of a foot issue. He's on target to come. Heart of Honor from Europe, from England, he's up in Saratoga too. He was fifth in the Preakness. He's supposed to go. And Chad Brown has the Peter Pan winner,
Hill Road.
Yeah. Hill Road, who's on target for that. He's at Belmont Park right now doing his training there. And he's going to be pointed to that race. So, there's going to be good horses in it, but hopefully we have the great horse in there too, in the great showdown.
Yeah, you mentioned last year Mystic Dan and Seize the Gray. This year is very different, though, because I think last year, I said it as the year progressed and then got to the end of the year. First half of the year last year with the 3-year-olds, they were undefined. They were just beating each other. They defined themselves towards the end of the year. And now last year's 3-year-olds, and in fact, we have Mystic Dan coming up this weekend, next weekend, but the 3-year-olds from last year have turned into really nice 4-year-olds and are making that handicap division a lot of fun. But at this point last year, Mystic Dan and Seize the Gray were still, Derby winner, Preakness winner, but of an undefined class. But I think this year, journalism and Sovereignty are clearly at the head of the class and looked at as being legitimately at the head of the class. And so the showdown, I think this year would be just, again, very, very special.
It would. And, a lot of it last year, Seth, was the appeal of last year's Belmont Stakes was the fact that it was being run up there. So that was the headliner. It wasn't so much of who was in it, the fact that it was at Saratoga. But now, after 1 year, and they're coming here for a second time, the buzz is about the showdown that could be, and that's the way it should be.
And also, somebody made the point that week after the Derby. It was probably a pretty good point when you think about it. And Bill Mott decides, I'm not going to the Preakness. Somebody said, well, at least that lets us avoid the asterisk if there was a Triple Crown winner, because clearly there would be, and there should be, with the final leg being a mile and a quarter.
There's no doubt about that. Just like if they ever were to change the spacing of the races, the Triple Crown you couldn't call it a Triple Crown anymore, in my opinion, because it would be a whole different animal. I still propose that I keep it the way it is because it's supposed to be hard. People didn't complain about it after Pharaoh and Justify won. And I think 3 of the top 4 finishers in Pimlico were coming off 2 weeks. So it's not like it's an impossible task. It's just that, people are more worried about breeding than running now.
Yeah, no, there's no question about it. I didn't ask you when we were talking about the media, but I'm just curious, what was the press box like at the Preakness? Because again, it's just over the past, however many years, the print media has kind of, newspapers in general have shrunk. And so, horse racing coverage has kind of disappeared in a lot of newspapers and on the print media side. So I'm just curious what the press box was like last weekend.
It was very quiet. I mean, the trades were all there. As far as newspapers goes, Mike McAdam was there from the Gazette, Gene Kirchner from Buffalo, John Sherwood from the LA Times was there. But that was about it as far as newspapers go. And, in years past, you wouldn't be able to get a seat in there.
Yeah.
I remember when I went there, our dear friend Matt Graves, the departed Matt Graves, in 2003, the funny side, that was the first Preakness I was at. They just wanted to send the second guy. And, I came in late. And Mike Gaffigan, who was then the PR guy, he was able to stuff me in a spot way back in the press box. There wasn't a seat to be had. But, you could have sold the seats up there to people. Maybe not sold. You might have been able to give them away for free because there weren't a lot of people up there covering the race.
Yeah.
It's sad in a way, but that's the way the business is now.
Yeah, like I say. And I applaud the LA Times. And as you say, John, I don't know what they do in the print edition, but they put him on the internet side a lot with his articles. And I wish more papers would at least do that. Yeah.
But unfortunately, you get the new breed of sports editor doesn't horse racing is as important to them as other sports, and and it's not just horse racing that suffers. There's a lot of like the Miami Herald, where Clark Spencer used to work. He says they don't even cover the Miami Marlins anymore, and they used to. They don't send people out there. They get stringers and things like that. It's just the way the business has gone, and it's sad to see. You remember the days when even at Saratoga, where every day you have full press box.
That's why I was in that second. When I got up there, I was in that elevated second row up, but I was facing away from the track. But it let me watch you and Jarbo go at it all day. So that was my entertainment.
That wasn't that entertaining. Huh?
I couldn't see the races because they were going on behind me, but I enjoyed watching you guys certainly. But now I have a front row seat essentially looking out on the track because it has changed. But it has changed a little bit. But the local, you're still up there, and McAdams up there, and Mike Welch and Dave Grenling from the Racing Forum doing a great job. So the regulars are still there.
Yeah, hopefully we'll still all be there until they kick us out.
Yeah, it's certainly a lot of fun. Planned for a couple of weeks. And Tim, we'll get you over on the backstretch. We're going to kick off there a week from yesterday. Hopefully that's the game plan, and do the Belmont Stakes week. And then again, we'll be back up there, obviously, starting that July 4th weekend and then on through the summer. So we'll get you back sitting in with us on the backstretch as usual. But appreciate the time this morning, and enjoy the rest of the visit in Beantown, as it were.
I will. I might go to the North Church and say a prayer for everybody.
I appreciate it. Tim, thanks. We'll talk again.
All right, Seth. Take care.
Tim Wilkin, again, part of that Notes team down at Pimlico last weekend. So I thought, again, we'd catch up a little week after, as it were, a little review, a little preview with, again, the Belmont Stakes now less than 2 weeks away. And I've said it a few times already over the past few days. The Met Mile is shaping up to be really good. Typically on Belmont Stakes week, the week leading up, there's some interesting little stakes in the week leading up, the few days leading up. But then that Belmont Stakes Day, the undercard stakes are typically excellent. But the Met Mile this year is looking really, really good, as is hopefully, again, with journalism, the Belmont Stakes. All right, we'll take a break. When we come back, just hit on some news and notes before we wrap it up. And again, I'll be back in a little bit later on this afternoon with OTB Live on a Sunday afternoon. So we'll kick all of that off right after this break. Stay tuned. It only takes one upset to make history, and now you can be part of Saratoga's long tradition at the Dark Horse Mercantile. The Dark Horse Mercantile offers a carefully curated selection of clothing, gifts, and home decor, from one-of-a-kind vintage racing memorabilia to select brands like Barber and Under Armour, as well as exclusive Dark Horse branded merchandise. So celebrate the Dark Horse in all of us at the Dark Horse Mercantile, downtown Saratoga, where the smart bet is always the Dark Horse.
You like free money? Well, Capital OTB gives its players plenty of opportunities to cash in. At Capital OTB, there are so many ways for horse players to receive bonus dollars by simply participating in promotions such as our bankrolls, bounty bets, online handicapping contests, and much, much more. Plus, with Capital OTB's Player Rewards program, you get actual cash back. So what are you waiting for? Log on today at CapitalOTB.com or CapitalOTBBet.com and claim your free money.
Haven't signed up for a Capital OTB account yet? Now's the time to take advantage of the sign-up bonus. Open up a new account with $200 or more, bet $400 by the end of the month, and receive a bonus $200 into your account. Plus, you can take advantage of everything an OTB account has to offer: wagering from any device, live streaming, racing info, past performances, online promotions, and more. Sign up today and take advantage of the new account bonus. Details at CapitalOTB.com. Welcome back to Racing Across America. And I just thought before we came back from the commercial, I have to do my my dark horse play of the day for today, which is in race number 3 at Churchill Downs. So why don't I do that right here? The dark horse play of the day brought to you by the Dark Horse Mercantile and Impressions of Saratoga, both in downtown Saratoga, right on Broadway. I always say it. Stop by, visit. Tell them you saw them here on Capital OTB, but just browse around. Both stores are a lot of fun. Apparel and souvenirs and a lot of Saratoga branded merchandise and horse-themed merchandise. The Greg Montgomery Travers posters. Really, as I say, you'll enjoy browsing around. So again, Impressions and the Dark Horse Mercantile, both on Broadway in Saratoga. Dark Horse play of the day for today, Sunday. It's going to be race number 3 at Churchill. $50,000 claimers going a mile. I'm going to use the 5 in here, Manta Ray. 10-1 on the morning line. I think this horse is very playable. Comes in from Oaklawn, and this time of year, I love the horses coming in from Oaklawn. Claim 2 back for 50. Went into allowance company last time, gets back to the 50 level. It's a Norm Cassie trainee. He's having a nice little meet down there at Churchill, but coming in from Oaklawn with numbers that match up with this group, a competitive group, but I think they're competitive in a way that they're all number-wise throwing numbers that are just 2 or 3 points away from each other. And Manta Ray is right in that mix. Picks up Luis Saez today, and I think is very, very playable in here at what is a juicy morning line. We'll see if that holds up, but again, a 10-1. So our dark horse play of the day for Sunday, race number 3 at Churchill Downs, horse number 5, Manta Ray. And before we go, just want to give congratulations to all the winners from Monday night. They handed out the New York Bred 2024 awards. I'm a voter. You get a nice little package early this year with PPs of the notable New York Breds for 2024. It's PPs just looking at last year. And again, the New York Bred program from my early days, and everybody points to it, and I do as well. Fiorito was kind of the turning point. Breaks through the gate at Saratoga, gets loaded back in, wins the Whitney. And from then on, it seemed like the New York Bred program was moving up. Les Hewlett on board, Fiorito based out at the Finger Lakes. So that was a lot of fun years and years ago. But now New York Breds they're good. And I say it a lot. You have a good New York Bred, you have all kinds of options because the state bred program has nice big days and nice stakes days for the New York Breds throughout the year. You can pick those spots, and if you're good enough, and a good New York Bred typically is, they can go out and face open company. And this year's New York Bred Horse of the Year fit that. My Main Squeeze, 3-year-old filly last year, and she's back on the track this year as a 4-year-old. But My Main Squeeze ran just the other day. won the grade 3 Dogwood down at Churchill against Open Company, won the 8 Bells on Derby weekend at Churchill against Graded Stakes Company. So my main squeeze was named champion 3-year-old filly, champion female sprinter, and New York bred horse of the year, my main squeeze. Let me hit on some of the other categories as well. Champion 2-year-old male sacrosanct, 2-year-old filly with the Angels. Really nice Linda Rice runner there. 3-year-old male, Pandagate. And again, congratulations to everybody involved there, Adelphi Racing and Company. And there are some locals involved in Pandagate as well. And I saw pictures from the awards ceremony Monday night, which was just up the road. I want to say they've held it in Saratoga before, but it was out at the nice farm just outside, I believe, which has a nice event facility, I believe. Regardless, they had pictures, and the Pandagate crew was there. And the locals that are involved weren't in the picture, and I ran into a couple of that group the other night, and they said it had a business thing going on the weekend, just travel plans and whatnot, and they were kind of lamenting, got the award Monday night and lamented that they couldn't be there. But again, congratulations to everybody involved with Pandagate. Again, it's Adelphi and Matacat and Company on the rise again, local connections, but Pandagate getting it done. Christophe Clement team as well. Congratulations. And talking to the folks, Pandagate, I believe, just got back on track, so should start training, and let's look for that one to return. Hopefully, some midsummer, maybe something like that. Champion older male, Bank Frenzy. Champion older dirt female, Venti Valentine. Champion turf male, Spirit of St. Louis. That's the nice Chad Brown runner that again can go Open Company or New York breds. Moon Age Daydream, champion turf filly, champion male sprinter, that veteran Rotney, Mike Maker trainee. And then you go down the off the track, so to speak, awards. Broodmare of the Year, In Spite of Mama, New York Sire of the Year, Central Banker, New York Bred Trainer of the Year, Mike Maker, Jockey, Manny Franco. The Breeder of the Year, William Butler. Congratulations there. New York Bred Program Lifetime Achievement Award, Barry Schwartz. And New York Farm Manager of the Year, locally, John McMahon of Saratoga Thoroughbreds. So again, those awards, the 2024 New York Bred Awards, were handed out Monday night. Congratulations to everybody that was involved. And I'm just looking down. I pretty much nailed it, I think, with my ballot here. Certainly I nailed it with Horse of the Year. I had my main squeeze on top. She did so well with, a couple of Open Company graded stakes wins. And it was a nice year. And as I say, my main squeeze is back this year as a 4-year-old. So she'll be fun to watch as well. But again, congratulations to everyone who picked up an award or got, was a finalist as well, because that also counts. And we will have, you heard Pat, and I'm trying to think of what day it was. Pat McKenna yesterday. I think it was Wednesday. In fact, I'm virtually sure, because it had been like the day after the Belmont, I think, last year, but it's the first day this year. So it is Wednesday. There'll be a New York Bred Stakes Day kicking off Belmont Stakes Week. So keep that in mind. They're always fun. As I said to Pat yesterday, they're kind of familiar. And they match up in these New York Bred Stakes races, and it's kind of fun to see some of these familiar names match up again and get another shot at each other. So again, that'll kind of kick off Belmont Stakes Week. All right, we will wrap up Racing Across America for this Sunday morning. Be back this afternoon for OTB Live. Again, I'm going to look at some Churchill and some Aqueduct. Want to remind you once again, there's a Gulfstream Park, a Rainbow Six mandatory today. If I saw it right, I think they were expecting maybe $250,000, $750,000, 750,000. So $750,000. Rainbow Six, pick six, Rainbow Six mandatory at Gulfstream. Churchill, however, that's the one that I think is going to take a lot of action. The mandatory at Gulfstream typically gets a good pool too. But at Churchill today, late pick five carryover, $290,000. They will send it in. So that late pick five at Churchill today is races 6 through 10. And again, a juicy carryover that will take a lot of action. So keep that in mind for this afternoon. We will remind you when we get back. Again, about an hour and a half or so, kicking things off for Sunday afternoon OTB Live. Also want to remind you once again, tomorrow, big day of racing, Memorial Day, lots of great action from tracks you don't normally see, obviously, on a Monday. New York, Churchill, Monmouth, Santa Anita, and more. Santa Anita, a couple of grade ones amongst the stakes action there. They'll go later on, and so we'll take thoroughbred racing action tomorrow night here at OTB and here at the clubhouse. That means we'll be open a little bit later. We'll be open until 9 o'clock tomorrow night, so you can watch and wager on that really nice stakes-laden Santa Anita card. You can also watch right here on OTB TV. Obviously, I will be in afternoon and maybe a little bit of the beginning of the Santa Anita card as well tomorrow with OTB Live. But OTB Live today, again, in about an hour and a half or so for a Sunday afternoon. So we'll see you then.
Sometimes it pays to go with the flow, to check your worries at the door, to reconnect with your crew, to follow the thrills and the flavor, to roll with it and see where it takes you, to enjoy every minute to its fullest, and to dance like there's no tomorrow. You can do that here at Rivers Casino and Resort Schenectady, where the good times flow.
Want to get your career in horse racing off to a fast start? Well, the University of Arizona's Racetrack Industry Program is your winning ticket. The Racetrack Industry Program has served as a springboard to some of the industry's most successful individuals, with a proven track record of job placement right out of college. If you want to earn a degree in the exciting horse racing industry, the Racetrack Industry Program can put you in the winner's circle.
We'd like to thank Woodbine for their sponsorship of this program and some of the other programming and events here at Capital OTB. Woodbine open now through December, featuring great racing, including the King's Plate coming up in August, Turf Champions Day with the Woodbine Mile in September, and much, much more. Woodbine Racing, great racing north of the border.
You're watching OTB TV, a service of Capital Offtrack Betting.
Merrow is cruising up in second place now. Looks ready to take Simple Star. Rewired is back in third still with plenty on. Coming to the final flight, Impero now given his head by Jordan Gainford and has breezed into a clear lead. The class horse in the race, giving plenty of weight away, but he can do it. And